What's good, y'all? You already know what it is, baby. This is T Paris, aka the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit. Most original, most creative, most in tune with the times, and I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is Peace Perspective. But let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. Now, last week we took a pause for the cause. We had a little heart to heart, but we ain't really getting to the dialogue, for whatever reason. This week, I don't want to waste no time. I want to get right into it because I think this topic is very, very powerful, very impactful, and I think it could go in so many different ways. This topic came by email. The question was, do you think that we as people of color have an inferiority complex? Do people of color have an inferiority complex? That's the question. That's deep. Before I just get into the answer, I'll let y'all know I broke it down into 3 different categories because I felt like if we look in the categories and we break those down, we'll have a better understanding of what's being asked in the question. Now, I know off top, when you ask people, do you think that people of color are inferior to other races or other cultures, people are going to say no off top, But I don't want to answer the question right off top. I want to do a little, dialogue. I want to go and dig a little bit, and then I'll see if we can come to a conclusion together. So the areas that we broke down are physical, mental, and spiritual. I feel like all 3 of these categories play a big part in the way that we live our lives, our daily interaction, and just how we place value on ourselves, right? So let's start with the physical. So the whole gangster mentality, the way we live in the inner city community, I think that this is something that has been adopted all over the world. Every inner city community, you pretty much can relate, to this ideology. And I want to say even before hip hop, I think that this started in the household. Your first teachers, we already said that's your mom and your dad. And, some of us coming from single parent households, we still had, extended family, or we had, step parents that came in and stepped up. And so some of the first teachings we're taught is if somebody hits you, to do what? To hit them back. Don't allow people to put their hands on you. If you having a fight with somebody and they bigger than you, then you go and you grab something and you hit them upside their head. This is how we have been taught to protect ourselves within our community while we growing up, going to school and traveling to different communities, different areas. And a lot of times, this is what we told because a lot of us, have grown up in households where there's really only one parent or there's extended family, and the kids at an early age are having, a lot of responsibility, taking themselves to school, taking themselves to the park, or, going to see their friends or traveling to other extended family, members' houses. And sometimes during these travels, we're going to get into fights and stuff like that. Now, in the inner city community, there's a saying, everybody respect violence. And unfortunately, that's how we often deal with a lot of our situation. When they get out of hand, we get violent with it. Now, I want to be clear and say violence is not just only physical. Violence can also be verbal. You can verbally abuse people to a point where it just comes off as real abrasive, real aggressive. Now, with that being said, if this is the way that we live within our inner city community, this is how we dealing with all our problems, our issues as they come about. My question would be, when the police come into our community, why does the energy shift? Why don't we seem to see the same aggression and the same way of handling the problems? See, oftentimes when the police come in our community, all they got to do is start with everybody freeze. Let me start seeing some ID. And you're going to always have, a couple people who they're not going to comply for whatever reason. They ain't going to comply. But the vast majority of people just fall in line, start pulling out their ID, expressing things, explaining things. And, one thing that we have to learn about the law is, am I being arrested? Am I being detained? If not, it ain't nothing to talk about, and we keep it pushing. But oftentimes, we don't do that. We act like we don't know our rights. And so I mention that to say this. On the physical level, we don't offer the police the same energy that we offer to the people within our own, community. A lot of times you see when the police come, people kind of get, docile, and they start to act like they afraid or they worry. You have a couple alpha males who, in every community this happens. They challenge the police to a fisticuff. You know what I'm saying? You take your badge and your gun off, and we can get it. You know what I'm saying? You always gonna have that. The alpha males. There's a couple of them in every community. They always gonna respond like that. But for the most part, the rest of the community is when something go wrong, is call the police. And when the police come, people, they freeze and they start to get worried. I want you to think about that for a minute, man. Why do we got different energy when it comes to the police than we have amongst ourselves? All right. Something else I want to point out on a mental level, in terms of our confidence or our fear, right? Since the beginning of time, when we come into school, when we talk about black history, our history always seemed to start with slavery, right? And we talk about slavery, you talk about how the slave master used to use emasculation, you know what I'm saying, to embarrass the men. So you got things like tying half of the man's body to a tree and the other half to a horse. And the horse dart off in the other direction and rip his whole intestines apart. Or how about, when you got the slave master will rape you right there in front of everybody or lynch you in front of everybody. This was done to instill fear in us, right? The same thing with the women. They rape and molest the women. They do it in front of us to show us that the black man can't do nothing. He can't protect you, right? Now, this has instilled fear in us mentally throughout our whole lifetime. No matter where you go, you pay attention to what's going on, and that fear is present. But fear is really just an illusion. It doesn't really exist. What has happened to us is we've been conditioned to think that every time we do something wrong, there's going to be some type of punishment or penalty that's going to come from, whoever is quote unquote in charge. And more times than not, it's the police officers. Now, a couple episodes ago, we spoke about it. Patty rollers, slave patrollers. Back then, that was the KKK. That was the police. Those were the people who were sent to come and grab us and bring us back to the slave master. You know what I'm saying? So all of this stuff has pretty much been embedded us for a long time, man. This is not something that just happened overnight. And then the next thing that I want to touch on is spirituality, right? When we was growing up, a lot of times, our family, our grandparents really would, put emphasis on the church. Now, back in our early history, we would congregate a lot, sing hymns and stuff like that. That's how we communicate and share, our personal misfortunes with each other. But I want to take, a moment and just think. And I know this might get touchy right here. When you think about, religion, oftentimes, we think about this white guy who's supposed to come back and save our lives, and they call him Jesus Christ. And my thing is, if throughout history it's been a white person who's been responsible for our oppression, a lot of the social injustice, what would make you think that these same people would provide us with religion, a truth, to get us out of this predicament? Why would they do that? It got to make sense, man. It got to make sense. And so as people of color, we put so much faith, so much responsibility into trying to impress these people who don't give a fuck about us. They don't care nothing about us, right? Let's dig a little deeper, man. When we in our community, what do you think are some examples of being successful? Fast cars, jewelry, women. Never about property, right? Never about property. Always material goods, right? If you ever been in a community, a white community, they don't put the same emphasis on these things. But why is that? Like, why do we glorify these things and they don't? That gotta be a good question, man. That gotta be a good question. And I really don't even have an answer to that. It's like we stun on each other to try to validate ourselves. But when we get around, the white people, then we act all docile and, sit on our hands and, we all passive aggressive. Why is that? Do we feel like we can't beat them at their own sport? One of these age-old arguments that we hear all the time is about school and how school is not important. It don't teach you shit. You just get a whole lot of debt. Let me tell you something, man. The issue with school is that a lot of times they don't teach you how to apply what you're learning. But because many of us didn't want to go to school, when we make that money in the community, selling them drugs and doing whatever we doing, we chasing that bag. We never learn how to multiply the bag. We never learn how to make the bag make more bags. But when you go in their community, that's all they doing is flipping the bags. You know why? Because when they went to school, they learned about business. See, most of us don't even know about business. When you ask these kids what they want to do, I want to be a business owner. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to run my own business. But who teaching us about business? Let's be real, man. That shit sound cool. I'm going to run a business. I'm going to start a business. Until you have to go out there and start putting forth the effort to do so. So, and a lot of situations, the reason why we conduct ourselves in inferior way or have an inferior mentality is because we haven't prepared ourselves to compete on the level that they competing on. You know what I'm saying? The things that we put pride in, entertainment, sports, the hood, they don't really take precedent in those things. They don't really care about that. And when they do get involved in that, you know what they do? They infiltrate and then they learn from us to be better. I personally think too many times we too forgiving, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? We too forgiving. Anytime you talk to people of color, they mention slavery, they mention the hardships, they mention police brutality, they mention, racism. So why do you keep giving them all these chances to come back into your life? Why? Let me ask you this. If you had a friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you have a relationship with, of any sort, they stole from you. You found out they stole from you. They acknowledge they stole from you. You gonna let them be your friend again? If you saying yeah, then you part of the problem, man. We have to learn to let go sometimes, man. Everybody ain't meant to be in the circle. That's just the way that it is, man. Sometimes you gotta cut off those loose ends. And believe it or not, yeah, man. Some of the white people, man, they loose ends. They not all for us, man. They not all for us. And until we start to see things in that manner, we're going to continue to get slaughtered and taken advantage of. I've been seeing around the whole world, Black Lives Matter. And we going crazy for that slogan. Don't get it twisted. I'm a black person. And of course, as black people, I feel like our lives matter. But I don't subscribe to the concept Black Lives Matter. Because that's not even being run by people who care about all of black lives. It got to be something that includes all of us, not some of us. You see, some of us come out to the fight some of the times. We can't win that way. The only way we're going to win is if we all come together for something collective. And I hate to be so shallow and say, let it be something as, simple as the color of our skin. All black people just come together with black people. Like, in some ways, I want to say that that's ignorant because we know that, people are good, bad in every shape, shape or color. But at the same time, I do got to say this. If it don't look like you, it don't talk like you, it don't walk like you, I got a hard time feeling like he care about me and he going to support me and be there for me. And that's why I don't put my faith in that. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to come off like I'm being real, discriminative and prejudiced. But I just feel like at this point in time, like as people of color, man, we got to come together. We got to open our eyes, pay attention to what's going on around us. History continue to repeat itself. We oftentimes say we don't have any leaders, but A lot of our, leaders, because whether you want to be a leader or not, a role model or not, when we become professionals, that's exactly what we are. We are leaders in our community. But I continue to see some of the educators, out there spreading false information. And a lot of times y'all don't like to hear this when I say this to you, right? But Dr. King, as much as he was for people of color, he bit the apple too. He bit the apple too. And that's what's really going on with a lot of us. Is the first time they dangle that carrot in front of us and we see something, profitable, then we taking off and we going in that direction. The sad and unfortunate part is he got the same fate that Malcolm got. He got the same fate that Malcolm got. He got the same fate that Malcolm got. But if you pay attention to Dr. King, before he died, he said, and I quote, "I feel like I led my people into a burning building." You know why? That's because he started to recognize it's nowhere in the world you're going to let these people punch you in your face and turn the other cheek and think that it's going to be even. It's never going to be even that way. Never. Like, we got to start to stand up for something, man. Pay attention to the world. A few weeks ago, we was out here rioting and marching, and our own people was going crazy about it. Notice it ain't no more rioting going on. We still marching, but they not looting no more. Why? Why did the narrative change? Was it us? Or was it the media? Because a lot of times, that's where the narrative energy come from the media. So they not focused on that no more. They focused on something else. And I'm going to point that out to y'all, man. I'm going to point that out to y'all. Right now, you hear a lot about black on black crime. Why they keep promoting that? Why you think they promoting that? What is black on black crime? If you live in a community that's predominantly black, whatever way would it be? Y'all mean to tell me we going to let the Asians come in there and violate somebody in our community? We going to let a Mexican come in and violate somebody in our community? That's what I hear when I hear y'all say, yo, what about the black on black crime? It's only black people in our community. Who else going to commit the crimes? See, the bigger issue than the black on black crime, this one going to be deep. It's the system. And the way that we support the system, by always following the rules and regulations of the system. So we've been told when the police come, to put our hands up and just freeze. That don't really solve the problem, though. You know why? Because those are the same people who coming in our community committing the crimes. Does that make sense? Come on, man. We got to do better. I'm not telling you go out there and fight a police officer, but the same way you got that energy for your brother because he told you, fuck you, show that police officer that same energy. Because the reality of it is this. All of them don't want to fight. All of them don't want to shoot. That's the mentality that they got from joining the force, man. That's a mentality from joining the force. Trust me when I tell you, man. They brainwash all the people that come into the police force. And they got this newfound thing where it's like, if you fearful, you do what you got to do and we got your back. But we need to have our own, black code of silence. You know what I'm saying? That we look out for each other and we got each other's back. And I ain't talking about that no snitching shit. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about loving our neighbor, man. Caring about each other enough to say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not going to sit here and watch that go down. I got another thing I want to point out, right? Juneteenth passed, and I hate to keep harping on this, but I just want to show you how selective and hypocritical we could be. Juneteenth just passed. We was going crazy saying that's what we are celebrating now. Yesterday was the 4th of July. I thought we was wearing all black. We wasn't shopping nowhere. We just was going to be about black solidarity. Yo, all morning, all I saw people posting was how it was over 40-something people shot and stabbed. And to take the conversation further, these people can explain to you everybody who was shot, stabbed, in this small window of time. But if we turn around and ask these same people about Breonna Taylor or Vanessa Gillian, they don't even know who we talking about. So my question is, why do we know about every crime that's going on in our community, but we don't know what's going on around the world with our people? That don't bother you? That don't bother you? Like, that don't even sound right to me. That we could sit here and talk about every issue that's going on within our community, but we don't know nothing about what's going on around the world. We got to do better, man. We got to do better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to leave it at that, man. We got to do better. You know, we can't just continue to focus on, you know, the black on black crime and the issues that we doing to each other, man. That's not going to work. And if you don't have what it takes, you know what I'm saying, to go with the system, that's cool too. But then I think we got to start saying to people, you know, I'm not even interested in that opinion then. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a laughing matter. This ain't a time be laughing, joking, and playing games. Like, people's lives is at stake, man. People really dying out here, B. And I think the only way that we really gonna come together is put the games and shit down, man. Like, let's really have these real touchy dialogues. That's what we gotta do. I mean, not to put nobody on the spot. I just had somebody just post a picture about a young man in Chicago. Again, black on black crime. He talking, and I ask, what's black on black crime? He telling me, read the meme, whatever, however you pronounce that, read it. That's the easy way, champion. I don't want that. That's what somebody else wrote there. So you just passing information along. We got to do our due diligence, man. Stop just spreading information. Go out there, find out what's going on so you can share. Because you got to look silly when you talking about something going hard and then somebody asks you a question, but you can't express it or you can't explain it. Come on, man. We got to do better. I think this topic right here was powerful, man. I want to hear what y'all got to think mentally, physically, spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Yo, why do we move the way we move? Do y'all think that we, you know what I'm saying, inferior? Do you think that we believe we have an inferiority complex? I know we ain't, you know, we not inferior. I know that. We kings and queens. And if you ain't believing that, then that's probably part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? Come on, we got some questions. Our first question is, will we ever see a change in America, or will this forever be our reality? The second question is, could you live with yourself if you saw your loved one killed by police force or police brutality? And number three, if you could tell the youth one thing about your upbringing that made you proud to be black, what would it be? Come on, y'all. We got to get back to our grassroots. We got to get back to, you know, showing support. It's all right to disagree, but let's stop disagreeing with each other about stuff. Let's do that in private, all right? One more example I want to point out before I get out of here, because I know somebody going, you know, challenge my thought process when I say that we showing, you know, signs of inferiority. I want y'all to pay attention to even the film, right? For a long time, we've argued that men and women aren't equal. And that a lot of times our men have left our women to have to fend for themselves. As you pay attention to a lot of the TV shows and the movies that are being created today, a lot more women are becoming screenwriters and playwrights and, you know, having their hands in the movies and the TV shows that we watch. You know what I'm saying? One most notable, The Shy. It's a great show. Insecure. Another great show. And anything Tyler Perry doing. You know, I never support Tyler Perry, but I think a lot of people into Tyler Perry. But I want you to pay attention to the narrative in these shows, right? A lot of times you see real strong women of color, and I love that. But what I don't like is when they got to minimize the value of a black man in order to show the value of a black woman. Come on, man. We got to do better. We got to do better. Like, we can't expand upon our own, you know, self-belief and self-worth at the expense of the woman or the male. We can't do that. Like, we got to put more emphasis on the black family. That's the mother, the father, the kids, and the extended family. We got to do better, y'all. Come on, man. I'm challenging everybody. If you watch this video, to share with one other person, and then follow up and ask them what they thought about the video. Let's get the dialogue going. The revolution is nowhere near over. And I promise y'all, man, it's going to get darker before it get brighter. This is T. Paris. This is Peace Perspective, man. Toast to the town. Peace.